What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Mewzings podcast studio. Today, we are going to try to answer the age-old question posed by his Instagram handle. Who is Rob Willis? How you doing today, Rob?
Good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm glad that we finally connected and got on here. We're riding the waves of a storm out there where you live, so hopefully we are
Yeah.
able to stay on here long enough to get in all my little questions, things I wanted to learn about you.
I got faith. I got faith. I think we're good.
I do
Hopefully.
too.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing I wanted to ask you was just, everybody that comes on, every pro artist I have on here, every up and coming artist, I always ask them, did you get into comics and art from a very young age? Is it something that you've been doing most of your life?
Uh Sort of. Yeah, as a kid, that's all I did was draw comic book characters all day. I failed art class because all I did was draw comic book characters in art. So, yeah, school always in trouble for drawing during class. That's it was why you gotta pay attention. You gotta pay attention. But I knew that the only thing I needed to do was draw because I didn't care about any of that other stuff. None of that other stuff. I didn't learn anything. All I needed to know was how to draw, and that's it.
Did you take some of the traditional classes where they make you sit there and draw the still lives and all that boring
Well,
crap?
that was high school art class. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that was an elective. Like you can choose art or a foreign language or something like that. I chose art, and most of the time, I didn't participate in whatever they were doing. Yeah, the still life, the fruit baskets. But I tell you right now, I wish I did. I wish I would have paid a little more attention. Uh,
Yeah.
because there was probably some stuff like some techniques that they kind of taught there, and there was probably some stuff I could have benefited from that I had to learn on my own later. So
Yeah, it's funny how it all kind of circles back around to those fundamentals and things. Like,
the
I know
fundamentals, yep,
yeah, I know whenever I'm having the trouble, having a little bit of trouble with my art, and I'll talk to somebody like, one of my mentors, like Ryan Benjamin or somebody like that, and they're always like, go back to the primitives, go back to your fundamentals. And I'm like, oh,
yeah,
you mean the stuff in the first chapter of every of the hundreds of drawing books I have up there, like the stuff they tell
yeah.
you in the beginning.
That's the important stuff. That is, and then the rest of it, you just build your own off of it. That's the foundation, though. Without that, you don't really have anything. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that you take it back to the principles, and you can spin those. You know what I'm saying? You can add your own style in and all that stuff. You can play around, but you got to know those basic fundamentals.
Now, speaking of style, man, you have a very unique style. I can see some of your influences in there, but I wanted to ask you, going back to when you were younger, you're drawing comics, this is all you want to do. What kind of comics were you into and what artists were you following back then?
Um, let's see, man. I was a big fan of Jay Lee as a
Yeah.
kid. I had to get every book he drew.
Do
Jim
you have
Lee.
did you have the all the Savage Namor and all that stuff that Jay was on?
Well, no, I was really poor. I didn't get a lot of comic books. I would go in.
Okay.
I think I was really into his run on X Factor.
Yeah.
That was a big influence on me falling in love with comics. That was before Image. Once Image came out, I kind of got away from Marvel
Yeah.
altogether
I think
because
yeah.
those the colors and everything popped off. I was a kid. Stuff was important to me, the coloring and everything. Now I look back and I kind of like the more traditional colors.
Yeah.
I don't like the shiny, bold colors, like bright, vibrant colors anymore. I don't like
Well,
my work colored like that.
with your sensibilities, with your eyes now, I know me looking back at that old stuff, like it hits different, right? Because you
Hmm.
realize when it comes to your line work, your pencil work, your ink work, like a lot of times if somebody has a heavy hand with the coloring, it can take away from a lot of the original artwork, and you can see that in
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of that old image stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, even back then, I knew better. I didn't really like that, but I did like the new colors in Image. When Youngbloods came out and Spawn, those were the first two big ones, right?
Yep.
I think, and then I mean, there was like Jim Lee did Wildcats, and Silvestri had Witchblade. What did he have?
Yeah.
Cyberforce before that,
Cyberforce. Yeah.
and then I wasn't. You know what's crazy? I'm a huge Mark Silvestri fan now, but back then I wasn't. I didn't appreciate his work like I do now. I don't know
Yeah.
why. It didn't have the same effect on me it does now. I think as a kid I liked. I was a huge Liefeld fan.
Yep.
And Todd McFarlane, of course. I got hooked on his art when he was doing Spider-Man, and then I really fell in love with. There was that crossover, that X-Force Spider-Man crossover. Do you
Yep.
remember that?
Yep. Yep.
That's when I fell in love with McFarlane.
Yeah.
His take on the Juggernaut and Spider-Man in that. I was like, oh my God, this is so beautiful. Like I want to
Yeah.
draw like this. And I think Liefeld was a big influence on me because um, this is gonna sound bad, but his feet. It's like, oh, this you can draw feet like this. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna do this is easy. I was um I was in a real I guess Liefeld's a master. Don't get me wrong. He gets a lot of crap, but
And
like
it's
as far as
funny.
his dynamics,
Yeah.
his dynamic work, like he's really good at what he does. And I still love his work. But
Yeah.
I, he gets a hard time for the feet thing. I don't know why. His feet weren't that bad either, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Well, I was
uh,
just going to interrupt you for a second because I think this is funny because you're like the third artist in a row that I've had on that has expressed their appreciation for Rob and who was a fan of Rob coming up. And we always talk about that same thing. Like he gets all this hate, he gets all this crap. But I think when you're a kid looking at that stuff, it was just mind blowing. And even now looking at it, it's like, man, it's dynamic, it's exciting. Like there's
yeah,
something about it, right?
yeah, it led me into Stephen Platt too. Him putting Platt on Profit was another mind-blowing, life-changing experience for me as a kid.
Yeah.
Once I saw Platt doing Prophet, I wasn't really uh, a big fan of his Moon Knight for some reason. I didn't really pay attention to it like that. It wasn't, but when he started drawing Prophet, I was like, who is this guy? Like this dude is
Yeah.
nuts. He's amazing,
Yeah,
and
when
he
he was on Moon
completely,
Knight, when he was on Moon Knight, he was kind of doing a little bit more of a McFarlane. He's aping McFarlane a little bit more. I think when he got on Prophet, like that's when he really went even more nuts with his rendering and
yeah.
the exaggeration of the figures and
I
everything.
I talked to somebody who told me why his style changed from in between there. I won't expose his secret or
Yeah,
who influenced him, but somebody told me exactly why his style changed from Moon Knight to Prophet. Just a couple weeks ago, I was talking to somebody about that, and
yeah,
yeah, he took it to another level though. So yeah, he was a big influence on me up until, you know, the guy I kind of like got away from comics after, I was really into comics from like the age 7 until about 12, right? That was,
okay,
and then I was kind of into, I still loved comics, but I was also into getting into girls and running around with my friends and stuff, and I didn't really have a lot of time to really stay into comics. Though I would, if I saw a good comic when I was at the mall, I'd go into the comic shop, I'd buy it, I'd get it. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But I didn't seek out the comic shop all the time. I had a crazy girlfriend, and she didn't give me time for comics. So, but I kind of got away from comics in my later teens, and then I always loved comics. Don't get me wrong. I would always, if I would walk past a comic shop, I went in, but I didn't go out of my way to go to the comic shop like I did when I was younger. But those
right,
same influences I had when I kind of left comics were the same, obviously the same influence I had when I decided to pick up on comics years and years later. I got into tattooing for about 9 years. And then I tell you, if that takes a special kind of person. to stay in that tattooing thing
For
for life,
sure.
because I got real tired of dealing with people like I got tired of drawing on skin, and I got tired of dealing with the groups of people that would come in after so much. I said, screw this, I'm done. And
Yeah.
I started my own landscaping business, and I ran that for a while, and also did some other work. You know, I've done a lot of things other than drawing. Um, my family used to always tell me, "What are you doing? Like, why don't you draw anymore?" I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
What am I going to draw for? I got to make money. I got to work. It wasn't until, um, and I didn't want to like submit my artwork. I didn't want to sit down and like build a portfolio just to send my artwork to like Marvel or Image or
Hmm.
DC. I couldn't find the time to do that. So I was like, it's hopeless. I'll never get back into drawing. Like, it's just pointless. And then, I mean, I was probably about 7 years, maybe longer, late, like even discovering social media. I didn't open a Facebook until 2017, and
Yeah.
then Instagram and Twitter, and then I was like, "Whoa, hold up here! You can promote your work here." And like, hold on a second, and that's like kind of like what I've been doing ever since. And I seem to be getting by pretty good. I won't say I'm doing great. You know what I'm saying? The struggle is real, but I also haven't like sought out any big like professional jobs or anything like that. I'm kind of having
Yeah.
I'm having a good time with my own schedule and my own choosing my own projects. And as long as it keeps the bills paid, keeps the groceries in the fridge, keeps the kids good, that's it. I'm not like looking for any like big fame or success right now. Not from working for any of the big guys. I do have my own book coming out soon. Well,
Nice.
I'm gonna be starting on it soon, and I'm hoping that you know people like it. That's all. Um, at least
Well, I
some
think
people. It's gonna be.
taking that approach that you're able to kind of keep it fun for yourself, right? Like a lot of people do this traditional path of like, I got to put the portfolio together, I got to submit to the big two and all of this. But now, like you're saying, with social media and then we got the crowdfunding and everything, it does give a lot of different avenues to where you can pursue
Yeah,
this kind of on your own
I'll
terms to
say
some extent.
a lot of times I feel like it's not a very respectful avenue though that I'm taking.
Right.
I haven't paid my dues or anything like that. I haven't like I haven't been on the grind like taking demands from like strict editors and writers like and had to really sit down and like, hey, I need 20 pages and I need it done on this. I haven't done that, so I feel like I'm cheating, you know what I mean? So I can't take a whole lot of credit for anything, but I I also enjoy my life a lot.
That's
So
the thing right there.
don't get me wrong, I put in the hours. I everything every time I'm not either spending time with my kids or there's not really much I do. I don't have much of a social life. So if I'm not doing something like this or with my kids, I'm drawn all the time. That's it. So I put in the hours. I'm just kind of um, doing my own thing. Is all.
I get the sense that you don't sleep a whole lot.
Well, I take naps.
Yeah.
I have the privilege as of January 1st. Me and my wife were been divorced for a long time, but we still lived together
Okay.
for like 4 years. We lived together after our divorce, just for
Right.
the because we had a young daughter and it was just best.
Yeah.
And then like beginning of the year, we said, all right, it's time to like my daughter was old enough to where she could take care of herself to a degree, and it wasn't like I don't know. So I moved like 2 miles up the road, so I'm still over there all the time. But when I'm
Nice.
home, when I'm at the house here, I can just crawl in the bed when I get tired and sleep, and that's it. And then I
Yeah.
can get up and get back to work. So I don't have the all the kids running around, needing things constantly when I'm home. So it gives me the
Right.
opportunity to take like little power naps whenever I want, and then I wake up re-energized and I hit the desk, and back at it. I'm actually working on a piece right now. I take a break for this. That's incredibly tedious and exciting. it's so difficult that it's fun. I'm actually excited. It's not difficult. It's just the amount of patience that I have to get this image right
Is
is
that the
kind of
one that
insane.
you posted the vegetation that you're working
Yeah.
on?
Yeah, well, the whole
Yeah,
thing's like that. Like that's just the little bottom tiny piece of the page. So the whole image is like that. So it's going to take it's meticulous. You know what I mean? It's not
yeah.
like a character commission where I can just kind of have the basics already down. And it's not a whole lot of tiny little details. This is a little different. So
Now, is this
it's
something for
fun.
your personal project, or is this another commission that you're working
No,
on?
this is a friend of mine's cover. A buddy of mine. Actually, he's doing he wrote a book called Meathead, and he's got a guy named
Okay.
Jay Krager. I don't know if you know him.
I
Jay
think I've
Krager
heard the
is
name, yeah.
he's doing the interiors for it and the cover. He's the main artist on it. I'm doing like a secondary cover or like a second main cover. So I think Will tells me that to make me feel better or something. He's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's a main cover. It's just a second main. It's got main cover too. So he's trying. I think he's like tries to make me feel good about it but
Yeah, yeah.
I do a lot of secondary variant covers, so it doesn't matter to me. I'll do them if I like them. Uh,
So
but he's the writer. Will is actually going to be the writer for Dredge. He's going to be the one helping me piece all the story together, and everything.
nice.
I'll screw it up.
So you got some original ideas, and then you're going to have a little bit of guidance in how crafting that into a complete story and everything for the project.
Yeah, it gets a little irritating sometimes because I find myself getting talked into going away from my original ideas. So, sometimes it gets a little frustrating. I'm just like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this myself. But I
Yeah.
don't think I can. So, I got to take, the input and kind of we'll meet in the middle somewhere.
Now, do you get out and do a bunch of conventions or anything like that? Have you gotten on the convention circuit, or are you just nose to the grindstone at home, kind of doing your own thing?
No, I'm just here working. That's it. I don't like to travel. I
Yeah.
don't. Um, kind of like a homebody. I don't really like to go out now. I might do them eventually. Like I said, I've had a a lot of daily responsibility, and now January, like I said, on at the beginning of the year, now I have a little more free time, so I may consider taking on some conventions.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't even know maybe with Dredge, my book, then I'll go to conventions because I'll have something to show off.
Right.
Um, I don't want to go without like having something to promote. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. Are you going to go the crowdfunding route? Are you going to do like Indiegogo or Kickstarter or something like that? What are you thinking on that?
I'm still trying to figure that out. I talked to Dan Fraga, and he
Yeah,
wants to,
Fraga's an old friend of mine. That's awesome.
yeah, he wants to start his own comic company.
Okay.
Uh, and I don't know if he's actually made any real steps to make that happen yet, but
Right.
we've talked about it, and I wanted to publish it through them if it's possible because uh, I think if he can put together a really good roster of creators for
Yeah,
his little company, that would be fun. You know what I
for
mean? Will it
sure. Yeah.
succeed? Will it fail? I don't know, but it'd be fun to try. Uh, and we'll see how that goes. I'm going to talk with him before I make any decisions on crowdfunding or anything like that. So I don't know. I haven't even started drawing the book yet, so I got a little bit of time to figure it out.
Nice. So your style, man, something I noticed. I did see the influence. I saw the Silvestri. I saw the plaid in there. One of the things that impresses me the most about your work is just seeing the progression. Like you start out so loose, and then there's like all these layers upon layers upon layers. It's almost like you're sculpting a piece of clay, and then you get to the first stage of inking, and I see it, and it's always like, man, that's really good. But then when I see the finished thing, it's like on another level. Like, how do you develop your style? Like, I know painstaking and excruciating are probably some words. Like, I know you like to go in there and put a lot of detail and everything. I just think it's really cool to see your process shots and see that progression. Like, it'll be a cool piece like out the gate, but when you get to that finished piece, it's just like up here.
Yeah, I scrutinize everything along the way like a lot. So I'll have yeah, I just put down like basic what I want, the scribbles, and scribbling and going in loose. I realized I used to go in real tight at first, start with one part of the body, the head, and work my way
Yeah.
down, or start with and be real tight with everything. And there was no there was no real energy in that. I noticed
Hmm.
everything looked real stiff. Even if I tried to put like energetic poses and things, it still came out really stiff. So I started, yeah, being a little more loose with the original layouts. Really let the hand go, let my wrist kind of jerk around a little bit, and yeah,
Yeah.
work on those, you know, those power and energy lines and things like that, and then build off of that. You know, build off the basic shapes and the angles and things. I kind of gravitated more towards that because I noticed it gives the art more, a little more oomph. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Then I get in and start kind of doing the heavy shadows. I do my heavy shadows. Okay, where's the light going to hit in this image? Okay, then the shadows are here. I try and make the shadows pretty interesting. Okay, I try to give it their own little unique little patterns and things, although I end up blending a lot of that rigid
Hmm.
shadowing out in the end, so you can't really tell. But going with the heavy shadows and then onto the, I'll loosely, although pretty tight for some artists. I think my rendering in the pencils is tighter than a lot of artists actually, but it's still pretty loose for me compared to my inks.
Yeah.
Okay, and then yeah, when I start inking, then I really try and I, I that's when I'm doing my constructing. You know what I mean? Like the pencils are kind of a guideline, like kind of a guide, and they're pretty tight for the most part. But there's a lot of stuff missing in the pencils, and I know that when I go in and I get that, I get those inks with a sharp line on there. Then I can get into changing things up how I want them, and I sit back, I look at it, I go, okay, wait, we could add a little more here. We could, okay, maybe I went a little too heavy on the blacks there. Let me get a little white out, run a few streaks,
Hmm.
break up that heavy area. And it's really, I just sit back and see how my eye focuses on the picture. If anything's unsettling, if anything seems like it's too much or it's too light, well, then I go in and, you know, fix it up. So I look more at the whole image uh, also instead of when I first started, I would hone in and I would look at what I was working on, and when it was done, it was done. And I'd look at it and say, hey, it's kind of unbalanced, but it's all right, you know. Now I
Yeah.
make sure to keep my eye on the whole image as I'm drawing, so it stays pretty balanced. So because you can tell when you look at something, there's a certain way it catches your eye, and you can tell if
Hmm.
something's like too heavy with the blacks or it's just too wide open. It doesn't have the right contrast. It won't have that appeal to it. And if it doesn't have that appeal, then I go, why doesn't it? Why isn't this grabbing my attention? And I figure it out and I fix it. So
That's awesome, man. So you're doing a lot of the drawing, the actual drawing when you're getting in there with the ink.
no, well, yeah, sort. They each about 50-50. Well, I'll say the
Okay.
pencils are probably about 70-30. There's a lot that takes place in the ink, so I would have trouble allowing or trusting or I wouldn't have much faith in giving my pencils to somebody and expecting it to come back what I visualized. Now there's really good
Yeah.
inkers out there that I could give my pencils to and it would probably come back better than what I would do. There's some really good guys like
Yeah.
Adelso Corona. That dude is nuts.
Yep.
Clapian. I don't know how to pronounce his name. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about.
Glapian. Jonathan
Clapian,
Glapian. Yeah.
Clapian. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a monster.
Um, Williams is obviously a beast. Danny Mickey,
Yeah.
insane, absolutely nuts. I could probably give my pencils to any of those guys, and they would upgrade the image 100%. Um, Probably wouldn't be what I expect, but it would be better or on par. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're those guys I would trust to do whatever the hell they want to do, whatever I give them. You know what I mean? But the average inker that's just kind of going based off of the artist's pencils, I don't think they would do too good on my pencils. I don't think they would create what I would expect the final image to look like because I don't put enough information on the page for them to do that.
Right. Right. So, do you go straight to the board like big, or do you start small and blow it up? How do you like to approach that? I know, like they always say, the more stages you put into it, the less dynamic things can become. So I know some people that just go in there big right away on the board, and then other people start small and like blow the rough up and transfer it onto the board. Like, what do you do with your process?
A lot of erasing. I go right to the board. I'd go right to the board and I start. All right, how about this? Boom. It's all right, but erase. How about this? Da 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 da. And I really kind of like getting those scuffs on the page because then
Right.
my eyes start seeing things there. It starts this scuffiness on the page. My brain starts seeing images in it, right?
Nice.
And I go, oh, okay, that's neat. I see if I can kind of translate what my eyes seeing. Uh, and a lot of times that's pretty much how it goes. Sometimes I'll dive right in and get it right the first time, but more than not, I'll erase quite a few times before I get a position like a body position or the entirety of the image. You want your image to have a certain structure. You know what I mean? And so it might take a little time. I might have a really cool looking character on the page with a cool pose, and then I go, well, wait a minute, this isn't going to look right because I want to add this in there, and that's going to throw that off, and I got to erase. I erase a lot of really cool artwork.
Yeah.
I've erased some really cool stuff, and I almost take pictures of it, and I go, no, that'll just hurt my feelings when I look at it later. So, yeah,
That was one of the things that helped me the most as an artist, was the realization that even really good artists go in and like erase stuff. I remember watching Jim Lee on his Twitch stream drawing something, and it looked amazing. I mean, it's like Jim Lee, dude. Like, it's like this amazing pose and this great composition, and he just like boop, like erases like three-quarters of it. He's like, nope, that was
yeah,
wrong. And
yeah,
seeing
man.
him do that made me like, oh, it's okay to go in there and change stuff up. Like, you're
Yeah.
not locked in.
No, why would you lock yourself in to something you
Yeah.
may not be happy with? You have an eraser. You know what I mean? It's there for a reason. Uh Use it. Like I'm I'm I definitely promote using the eraser to uh, I like to get something on paper and it look good and then figure out what doesn't look good about it though. I go, this could be better if I did this. It'll look good.
Yeah.
It'll be a good image, and I'll go, yeah, but I could do more. I could do more with this. And, erase it, start over. Like, because from there, like, it has no choice but to get better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, I mean, if you when you erase something like that, like a great image, a pretty good image to do something better, you're not going to go back to a subpar image. You're going to go, okay, this
Right.
has to be better than what I erased the first time. And uh, yeah, I think that's kind of a big part of the way I create is, I'll start off. I'm never satisfied with the first thing though. Never. Maybe not the second thing
Yeah.
either. Maybe around the third time I start to be satisfied with it because I know the first thing I put down isn't going to be my best. It's just kind of
Got to
coming
kind
right
of
out of the head.
get into that groove, right? Like,
Yeah,
find your rhythm a little bit before you really get into it.
yeah. Well, it's like anything, you build on it. Like the first smartphone that came out wasn't as good as you
Yeah.
create it and you go, okay, well, let's do this different. And it's kind of like I just do that with pretty much every drawing now. Start off with
So
coloring it.
we talked a little bit about the background and taking the stereotypical art classes and all of that in school and not getting a whole lot out of them. But in retrospect, maybe seeing that there were some things there that were valuable. But fast forward to more modern time as you're developing your style and you're learning, were you going on YouTube and looking at instructional videos or getting books or anything like that?
For inking, yeah, I had to. I
Okay.
didn't know what I was doing. Like, so I would, yeah, I would look up. I think Jimmy Reyes had was the first inker because he had
Yep.
tutorials on about supplies, which supplies to use, and then he would give a little tutorial on how to use it. I didn't so much pay attention to the tutorials. I was more concerned about the supplies and what they did. You know what I mean? What did I need to make this happen? What do I need to make that happen? Which pens work the best? Which brushes work the best? Which whiteout should I use if I'm going to use whiteout? And there were some techniques he had. There was one technique I thought was interesting that I've never used was he would scratch the board to create the white marks instead of splattering. He
Yeah,
would
I've seen some
scratch.
people do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never pulled that off. I think I tried it once and I was like, "Fuck this! This is stupid. I'm not doing." I just use the
Yeah, I've seen
whiteout.
them. I've seen them use the Exacto knife to like make the lines for rain and stuff,
I
and it
haven't seen
turns
that.
out,
That's
yeah, and it turns out cool. But I'm like, man, you got to be very confident to get in there and be grazing the page and making these
yeah,
rain streaks in the black
it's
area with
pretty
an Exacto
interesting.
knife. Yeah,
Well, I just use what I do is I'll take the whiteout and I'll water it down a little bit so it runs like an ink,
yeah,
and I just dip a fine point quill in there, and you can get a real fine line with that. Real fine
yeah,
line, just yeah, and it'll run nice and smooth, just like your blacks. And that's how I do my fine line whites. And then I got a tiny little brush I like to use for the slightly larger areas. And then I don't like to go too much bigger than, you know, maybe a BB. If it's more than a BB size, I leave it white on the page. I won't
right.
unless I make a big mistake, but that doesn't really happen that much anymore.
Are you
But
using like a Hunt 102 for your nib, or what are you using?
you know what? I did. I used to invest in those. You can't even fucking find them anymore, man.
That's what I was hearing. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't find them anymore. You can't find anything anymore. It's crazy. So I just you know what I do, and I found out that it works just as good. I mean, you'll have artists that'll probably be like, no, no, it doesn't work as good. It's lacks the quality to do this. But you know what? I go to the Hobby Lobby or Michaels. They got a set of quills there. I use them. They work exactly the same.
There you
Exactly
go.
the same. Yeah. Now for my pins, uh, I do say that Copics are the best for multi-liners.
Yeah, I like
They're
the
better than
multi-liners.
microns. They're better than what you call I forgot what they're called. I've been awake since yesterday, so
I can
you'll have
see
to
them. I
excuse
can
me.
see them in my head, but I can't think of the name of them either. Like I
Yeah,
know what you're talking about, and somebody listening or watching is going to be like, "Oh, he means these." But yeah, no, I
yeah.
agree about the Copic multi-liners are really nice pins.
The ink is so black and opaque.
Yeah,
It's like it's like running a quill almost if you do it right. If you're willing to go back
yeah.
over your lines once or twice or three times, that's another thing I'll do. You know, I I go over my lines a lot. There's a certain width, a certain taper that I expect when I'm doing certain rendering and things, and I'll go over the lines until it looks right. So mm, if not, uh, it looks like it's lacking a little bit.
Yeah.
So I I make sure to get my lines right now. But yeah, those Copics, these guys right here.
Yep, I got the same ones back behind me here on my little art cart
That's
in the
that's another
background.
that's another thing you can't find anymore is replacement tips for those.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
you find one size and that's it. Try to find like a 2.5 right now, or a 1, or
yeah,
any of the popular ones. I guess the most used ones. Can't find them anywhere. Go to all these different websites, and they've got one size, and it's usually a 3 and a 7. They all got the 7. Nobody uses a 7.
yeah,
It's too
yeah.
big.
Nobody uses
But you
that.
can find a 7, and you can find a 3 for some reason. So I've been buying a lot of the 3s in the areas that I got to go real fine. I just got to be light-handed with it. Just use a little
Yeah,
corner of the tip there. So yeah, you know what I had to do because I needed different sizes. I had to buy. I've got all replaceable Copics, a whole bag of them. I always order replacement ink cartridges and replacement nibs, and I got the pen and couldn't find them, so I had to order a whole brand new $100, $95
you had to
kit
get the
that had
set,
all the
right?
side. Yeah, I had to buy that. I'm like, I
Yeah,
got all these. I just need the tips for two different pins, and they're
yeah,
not selling them. So I had to spend, instead of spending, $20, I had to spend almost actually over $100 with shipping and
yeah.
everything. So I was like, God, what's going on, man? You can't find anything. You can't find the brushes. You can't find the quills. Brushes. Yeah, you can't find any good brushes now either. I
When
don't know
they're
what's
changing
happening with this.
a lot of the materials are changing too. Like I know with when you're speaking of the Hunt 102, like people were saying like they were able to get a hold of some, but like the metal was different. So it
The
didn't have the
metal.
same feel. Yeah, it said the metal was different and they're like breaking a lot easier and they couldn't get this, they
I
feel
believe
like
it.
they couldn't get the same line like they used to be able to get with them.
I believe it. My last one wasn't that great. I ordered three of them, and none of them were really that great. I figured if they replaced anything, it would be like because of like PETA or something saying you can't use like animal
Yeah.
hair or something like that.
Yeah, with the
That's
brushes.
coming.
Yeah, like your
That's
sable,
coming. Yeah,
the sable hair
yeah,
brushes. Yeah.
yeah. You can. That's coming. Probably. I wouldn't doubt it.
And we're
Yeah,
talking a
everything.
little bit about the supplies and everything. Given that we're talking so much about traditional supplies, do you do any digital in your process at all? Have you delved into that, like for your roughs or anything? You just strictly a traditionalist.
Strictly traditional, not because it's
Yeah.
it's better. I think I probably enjoy it more, but it's just I don't like being on the computer that
Yeah.
much. Like
I like
that's
I
really
like the feel. I like the feel a lot more.
the
Like
real
there's just
paper
something
under you.
about yeah, yeah,
I think it would take me a lot of time to get used to switching over to drawing on a screen with a digital pencil. Yeah, that would be.
yeah,
But once I got used to it, I'm sure I probably would have problems going back to traditional. And all the different special effects you can add to your artwork with the digital. I don't knock those guys for doing the digital stuff because there's just a whole different realm of
yeah.
possibilities.
Yeah,
But
it's just a
I
different set of
personally,
tools, right? It's like a different
yeah,
toolkit.
yeah, the really good guys, I can't tell the difference um, but you know what I noticed? Okay, I can't tell. There's a few guys I can't tell the difference that their work between their traditional and their digital. But I do notice those guys, all these guys end up getting carried away. Like
Yep.
they start realizing, oh, I got this effect and I get that effect, and it's almost like you got all these options on hand and you want to use them, and it saturates the art. Using this tone and this fade and this and that, and like you're like, all right, now you're just getting carried away. It's almost kind of taken
Yeah.
away from the art. You're taking that the grit out of it. Um,
Yeah.
I like that. I know Capullo is going into digital inks now, but I really like
Is he?
his. I believe so. He was
I
doing
think he's doing. I think
Creech.
on the new
I
Creech,
could be
he's
wrong.
doing
Creech. I
digital.
think he did. Yeah, that's what I think. I saw that, and they don't look bad, but they don't look like his traditionals either.
Yeah. Plus, him inking himself is a little different. You know, we're so used to seeing like Glapion or Mickey
Yeah,
on him.
yeah,
Like those
yeah.
guys, like vibe
Those guys
very
were
well with
made
his
for
work.
him. Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
man. Mickey and Glapian both just yeah, they complement each other so well. Um, McFarlane did a good job inking him too.
Yeah, he
Um,
did.
yeah, but I gotta tell you, not like Mickey or Glapian. Those
Are
guys.
you as stoked as I am to see this Wolverine book he's doing for Marvel?
It looks pretty good. I'm seeing some of his the Wolverine Deadpool book. I saw some
Yeah,
Deadpool art he did too. Yeah, it looks pretty good, man. I mean, it actually looks really good, not pretty good. It looks amazing from what I saw. I like his take on Wolverine, this short little hairy beast.
yep,
It's almost hard to tell him apart from Beast in some scenes because he's so hairy and beasty looking. But I love that about him.
totally.
Yeah.
Who are some of your favorite characters? I see you draw Wolverine quite a bit. I've seen you do some Deadpool stuff. Or you just like them all, or you tend to lean towards those grittier
Those
characters
are
like
who
that?
people those are people who that they that's what people want me to draw. They pay me to draw
Right.
those guys. I do like Wolverine and Deadpool. I don't like drawing Deadpool that much. He's fun, but I don't like drawing him that much. I do like
Yeah.
drawing Wolverine. Um, I like you know I don't know. It depends on the mood I'm in, but I like the Conan like characters, the
Yeah.
muscular. Pitt's really cool. Guys like that. Those brawny, muscular characters. I love those. The more muscle shown off, the better. But I do like a little bit of contrast in there with maybe some cool articles of cloth, some different kind of armor or something like that. Like if it's done right and it's you add in just certain elements of the apparel, but not cover all the muscle. It
Yeah.
balances out real well, and you get like a perfect character.
Now you mentioned Pitt. Were you a big Keown fan? I was like a huge Keown fan when he was on Hulk and then Pitt and
No,
everything.
it's crazy. The guys I love, like now, I wasn't big fans of their. I did like Pitt, but he wasn't. I was. I'll tell you, I liked Sam Keith. I liked the Max more than I liked Pitt. When I
Yeah.
was, and I still kind of, I really do still like Sam Keith's work. Um, I
I
don't know.
ask
I
regarding
think.
Keown because of the rendering. Like I see a lot of his
Well, that was
rendering
late.
tropes in
That
some of
was
your
later.
stuff.
I started noticing how incredible his hatching was. Later on, though, as a kid, I didn't really
Yeah.
pay too much attention to that. I thought I was a big fan of Platt's rendering as a kid. I thought his rendering was amazing um, when I was younger. But if I were to put the two side by side, like Keown or Platt, I would say I like Keown's more because it's more. It's got a cleaner, like you can tell he puts a lot of time. Like he has a lot of.
Yeah.
I don't know if he puts a lot of time in it, but he has put a lot of time in perfecting his craft. He doesn't really render the same much anymore. He kind of
No.
it seems like his work now. He kind of goes with the contour with a little bit, and then he goes in with I don't know what he does. He tones it with I don't know if it's pencil or Copic or something like
I
that.
think
He
he
actually
I think
shades it.
he yeah, I think he uses a little Copic and I think he uses like some white pencil in there too on some of his stuff.
Well, I know he kind of shades his work now, which
Mhm.
looks amazing. He does it; it looks incredible, but it's different than what he used to do, and it's different than what I originally began to really fawn over his work for, which was his hatching, um, like on the his pit work. I discovered really the black and whites later on, a
Yeah.
couple years back, and I started looking at that. I go, Jesus, it's amazing. And I kind of started to mimic that. Same thing with Joe. Joe Mad was a big influence on me when I
Oh
started
yeah.
out. You can see the big knuckly hands on all my characters and
Yep.
things. Now I'm like, you know what? That works for Mad. It doesn't work for me. It looks ridiculous on my drawings. So if you'll notice over time, if you scroll way down my Instagram, you'll see my characters' hands have shrunk and
Mhm.
become more, I would say more realistically proportioned. Maybe not completely realistic, but in comparison to what they were before because I didn't really know how to draw hands. So I was like,
Yeah.
he's got a good technique that I can do. He's got these big knuckly fingers. I can make that work. And
Yeah.
so I started off kind of doing hands like Joe Mad, and I started rendering like Dale Keown. If you look at my work,
Hmm.
I tried to render like Dale Keown. That was like, oh,
Okay.
he's
Okay.
okay.
I
I was like,
feel
he's
really
got,
smart that I picked up on it then, because I'm like,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
Keone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You can tell big time. Like I think everybody can tell. Like my original like hatching was like me trying to mimic Keown. Like because that's what I
Yeah.
thought the best. I thought that was the best. I thought that it doesn't get better than this. So this is what I want to do. How can you improve on this? It's perfection, right? I'm like I want to go for perfection, and I can't see anybody else who's doing perfection like Keown. So I was kind of stupid to the point where I was like, oh, I'm just, this, I don't know. I shouldn't have done that. Thinking back, I should have really, but it helped me to get to where I'm at now. Now I can't, you'll never see me do cross hatching like that now. I've
Yeah.
actually, I went through that phase. I think we go through phases as artists. It was a learning phase, but then I realized like, this isn't for me. It's not my style for one. It's that, I got it. It helped me to get a really good idea in the fundamentals of hatching and contouring with your lines and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I decided that it actually wasn't right for the style I was trying to go for. That I needed to approach my art a little differently. I have a much different rendering style now. Um, it's a lot more squiggly and choppy than it used to be. For some reason, I just like the energy in it more now
Yeah.
than
It's very
what I was doing
dynamic
then.
for sure.
It, it'll be different in 2 3 years. It'll be something
Yeah.
different. I know I'll get pushed into a different area. My mind's not gonna let me stay there too long.
Now, who do you find yourself gravitating towards these days? Like we were talking about social media and Instagram and stuff. Like I know my whole feed is like pretty much following artists and just looking at comic book art on there. Who are some of the people that you tend to gravitate towards on there that give you a little bit of inspiration?
Man, there's so many. There's you know what? I wouldn't know him by name,
Okay.
honestly, um, because I'm so used to looking. I don't know. Like I see the IG handle or something like that, and well. I tell you who, Jorge Jimenez
Yeah.
is dope, like
And
incredibly
that's
dope.
100% digital guy.
Yeah, he's digital. Yeah, big.
Yeah.
He can do traditional. I've seen him do his
Oh yeah,
commissions for the
he can
cons.
do amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, but he does his work. He does it right, but he also gets carried away a little bit.
He
But it works
does,
with
yeah.
it. It works with his art though. It works really well with his art. So he's one guy who really does digital, uh, how it's supposed to be done. Um, who am I really digging right now? Man, it's hard.
I'm the
There's
same way, man. Like I follow like I swear it's like over 1,000 artists I follow, and like a lot of these guys, they're not even pros, but you look and it's like, man, how is this guy not working on a book somewhere or doing something? They're so
yeah.
amazing, so much talent out there.
What's we got? Luis LaRosa.
Oh man, with the
His
dinosaurs and stuff he
I
does.
just saw his dinosaur the other day, and I said,
Yeah,
damn. And I started looking. If see, this is what I do now. If I look at the artist's work and I can't figure out how the hell they did it, that's who I like.
yeah,
If I know how they did it, if I can look at their work and say, oh, okay, that's I know how they approach that. You know what I mean? I'm not that interested in it. If I look at their work
yeah,
and I got to scratch my head and go, what the, how did he do this? Like, and I got to really study their work. That's the guys I'm gravitating towards. The guys I have to
yeah.
study their work. Not just enjoy looking at, but study. Like when I see it, I have to study it because I don't know how they, you know, got to the finished product.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So those guys, anybody I look at and their work puzzles me, or their approach is just so original, that I'm just like, oh, that's cool. You know what I mean? Those guys,
Yeah.
um, who aren't afraid to kind of go outside the box a little bit. I wish I had the guts of some of those artists. Um, yeah, so many artists, man. And you know what? I'm gonna.
And we talked about like some 90s guys that you were influenced by. Do you ever look back at any of the old art, like older art, like guys like John Byrne and Dave Cockrum and any of that stuff and draw inspiration from them as well?
No, I was never really. You know why? I do see their work now, and I go, "Ooh, okay, yeah, that's really good stuff." But I wasn't into them as a kid, so
Right.
that nostalgia isn't there for me. So when I say Bushima,
Oh, yeah.
that guy, I
Buscema.
look at
Yeah.
Buscema, yeah, I see his work, and I go, "Damn it, that's amazing." John Byrne, pretty good. Bernie Wrightson, another
Yeah.
one I see.
Bernie's.
Yeah.
Yeah. His rendering was
Uh,
insane.
Frazetta's work still blows me away. I think Frazetta's work will always blow anybody away. I don't think there's any
Yeah.
time period where you're gonna look at his work and go, "Oh, that's outdated." Nah, it's like he has that timeless artwork.
Yeah.
There's another guy that I found a couple months ago, and then I couldn't remember his name after I found him. I was
Mm.
even started looking his work up online. So good, so good. And I can't remember who he is to look his work up.
You're going to have to send it over to me if you ever find it again
When
because,
I figure it out, I would figure it would be in like my Google history or something, my search history, but it was a couple
yeah.
months ago and I can't find him. I'm waiting to
Yeah,
see
it's
his
tough.
work. Somebody posted something of his and I saw it. I go, who was this? And I had to look him up and he's got a ton of work. Oh, Bisley's another one. This guy
Yeah.
had like a refined, he was like a refined Bisley. He painted his work. He colored everything and
Okay.
oh man, he's incredible. I wish I could remember his name.
Yeah, Bisley is another one I saw a little bit of in your work as well.
Bisley. Yeah, Bisley. Yeah, man. You can't go wrong with Bisley.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I haven't tried to like intentionally incorporate like any of his like techniques or anything. Uh, but it may be like something like subconsciously happening,
Hmm.
because he's got that wild style that I like, and I may, be trying to
Yeah,
go a
and you're
little
drawing
wild.
those muscular characters and that kind of gritty style and everything. He had a lot of that in his work. So I think
Yeah.
anybody where we see that in that we see that in their work, we kind of Bisley pops into our brain pretty quick.
Yeah, he's like the master. So yeah. Uh, yeah, I know what you mean. Another
Well,
guy
Rob,
that.
go ahead, go ahead. I almost cut you
No,
off.
go
Go ahead.
ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I was gonna just give you a chance to make sure that we check in here and make sure we maybe go about 5 more minutes.
Yeah, 5 minutes is good.
Perfect. Yeah. So continue. You thought of another artist.
Well, everybody probably loves this guy too, but another one that I didn't really appreciate his work when I was younger, and I look at now, and I just blows me away is Bill Sienkiewicz.
Oh yeah,
Like, it just blows my mind the way he paints. That's another thing. I don't know how to paint, so I mean, I know the basics, but I don't know how to really paint.
yeah,
There's a million ways to paint, but there's like a million ways to paint wrong, and there's like a bunch of ways to paint right, but I don't know how to do any of them. So
Yeah, I always get blown away by that. And then speaking, going back to digital, like there's a lot of people who have kind of really expanded their horizons with the painting digitally that
Yeah.
turns out pretty dang cool too. So I think
Yeah,
if
I
I ever
never
maybe
know.
got into painting, I might experiment with it on my iPad a little bit, try to get my legs. But yeah, the whole idea of getting a bunch of paints out and a canvas and going to town is a little daunting to me at this point.
See, I could do that. I don't know. See, I see the digital painters, and I always wonder, like, is it AI generated? Is it the artist? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell anymore. So,
Yeah, it's getting harder to be able to discern.
that's another artist I got to give it up to is AI because
Yeah,
I don't know. You can hate on AI all you want. Everybody does. I think I definitely hate artists. Not, I don't hate artists, but I hate that an artist would use AI. I don't think if you're an artist, you should be using AI. But I got to give it up to AI itself because AI creates some really, really interesting images based on the prompts you give it. Like the fact
it
that,
does.
artificial intelligence can do that, it blows me away. Um,
Yeah,
it's it's pretty wild to think about where it's going to be in another 5 or 10 years. I'm not
that's
going
the
to be
thing.
competing with other artists. I'm going to be competing with AI,
Yeah.
and that's fine. That'll be fun.
Yeah,
But
there's a lot of artists now kind of getting outed and getting in trouble, like published artists that were doing covers for like Marvel and DC, and then people caught on that it was AI
yeah,
or they were enhancing it with AI.
yep, yeah, that's not right. You don't do that. Not if you're going to take credit for it. You know what I mean? You could put
Correct.
like you could
Yeah.
sign like your name and like AI enhanced. That's something you want to do
Yeah.
that. That's fine, but don't take full credit for the work because it's not yours. That was a computer program did some of the lifting there.
Now I could see maybe using it to get an idea and then do the work on your own, like
That's cheating.
potentially.
It's cheating. That's I
I'm
thought about
trying to
that
play.
too.
I'm trying to play
I
devil's
I think
advocate because I
I
know
think
there's going to
there's
be
some
people.
artists. I think there's some artists that do that right now. I'm not going to name any names, but I think that I can pick
Yeah,
up on a few whose style is starting to look like changed a little bit and is looking like AI, and
yeah,
it's really helping their art. But I think they're using AI to create the image and then redrawing the image
Oh, you think
in
they're
their
they're
own.
kind of going in there almost like how people photo bash and use Photoshop to take things and make a final image, like they take pieces here and there. You think they're probably doing that a
Well,
little
I
bit
th-
with
I
the
think
AI too.
I think they're using the AI to create the layouts and the figure out where the shadows and
Right,
where their lights and darks and things go, and then they're kind of going and taking that and going, okay, I'm going to redraw this. Uh,
right.
you know, I think there's one or two guys that are doing that. Now, maybe more, who knows? But
Probably more.
I think that's big time cheating. And and if you want to, that's fine. I'm not knocking you, like whatever. I couldn't do that because that would ruin the experience for me. Like
Yeah, me either.
I
I
do
just
this.
couldn't bring myself to do that for sure.
The process of starting with nothing and the final product is very exciting for me. It's satisfying. If I didn't like, I don't know what I would do, man. I might have just like I don't know. I got back into drawing because I had to. You know what I mean? Like my
Yeah,
one day, like literally one day, I was like, that's it. I'm just gonna draw. I can't. Like it was like it pulled me in. Like I completely gave up everything I was doing, and finally like gave in to the urge and was like, "This is it. I'm just diving in. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go full time. I'm gonna
yeah,
start off where I'm at now, knowing nothing, and hopefully my desire will take me to where I need to be." And I keep that desire. I love to draw. I love to learn new things as I'm going. I like to make mistakes and then notice those mistakes after I'm done and go, okay, I made a mistake there. Let's see if we don't do that again on the next one or the next time
yeah.
this situation comes up. How would I approach that differently? I always do that when I'm done. Like, I'll like the image for about 5 minutes, and then I'll start looking at it, and I'll go, okay, I could have done this better. I could have done that better. I could have done this and that. I
Yeah.
would change it. If I drew this again, I do that. I say, if I drew this again, what would I do different? When I'm done and I'm completely satisfied with what's on that paper, I will look at it and I'll go, okay, what would I do different if I had to draw this again? And then
Yeah.
that sticks in there, and it's just, I think that helps me progress. Uh, I just
Definitely.
keep I just keep doing that. I think it's a good strategy for me.
Definitely, brother. Well, listen, we survived the storm, it seems. The internet did not go out.
Yeah, I think it passed for the most part. It's not raining anymore, so I hear
Awesome,
thunder
man.
though.
Well, before it takes it out, before it causes that internet to spike and drop, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to be on here with me today. And would definitely like to have you on in the future when your book
Yeah,
comes out.
I appreciate you inviting me on, James. It's cool, and I'll definitely come back when
Awesome.
Dredge is
Yes,
in the
everybody
in the
be on the
process of being
lookout.
created.
Yep, everybody be on the lookout for Dredge. And where's the best place for everybody to find you online?
Either IG or X, probably the best. And I'll say either one. I used to direct everybody to IG because all I do is post art there, but that's all I do on X now too. I
Okay.
stopped like I stopped pretty much saying anything on these social media platforms. I don't really talk
Yeah.
much on there anymore. I just post my art and that's it. And so who is Rob Willis and who is Rob Willis or Willis who at Willis who on X.
Oh,
And I
okay. A
think it's
little
just,
different on there.
well, it's who is Rob Willis, but it when I generated it, the at comes up as Willis who. I don't know. It
Oh,
does
okay.
that. It
Interesting.
does.
Yeah.
Yeah, and who is Rob Willis on uh, Instagram, and then I have a page. I post my art on comicartfans.com. I don't know if
Oh, cool.
anybody's familiar with that. I'm sure they are.
Do you have a
So
profile on there?
yeah, I don't pay for anything, so it's not like the greatest if you'll see better quality work on Instagram because everything
Okay.
I post on Comic Art Fans, it comes out blurry. It doesn't load right. I don't know. I
Gotcha.
think I think you have to pay money or have some kind
Yeah.
of something to get the top quality stuff. So I don't do that. So
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure to include all that in the links, the show notes for everybody. I wanted to remind everybody that we do video and audio for this podcast. So if you want to watch us on YouTube, you can see our beautiful faces, youtube.com/at nerdy musings. If you want to listen to the audio version of the podcast, that can be found on any audio podcast platform. And as I always say, everybody, keep it nerdy. Mr. Rob, hang out with me for a moment. I'm going to hit this outro. Have a good one.